Welcome to the Green Wasp Removal YouTube channel. In this episode, we respond to a private residence where the owner had been attacked when they were trying to remove these old railroad ties while doing some landscaping. Turned out there was a very active Eastern Yellowjacket nest inside this railroad tie. They had made a long couple of chambers inside the wood of this tie, and they were very aggressive. They came out to fight, and two different entrances. So we had to rig a dual vac system where we had two collection bottles going the whole time, and these wasps were going nuts, which is typical of Eastern Yellowjackets. They're a very beneficial species for biological pest control and for pollination, but as you can see here, they come out to sting, and they were all over the gloves, all over our suits, all over the tools. They were even all over the cameras when we put them down. As you see here, they're trying to sting the camera lens. It was pretty intense. So of course, it's our job to make it more intense by stirring them up as best we can, getting them to come out, by agitating the nest as much as possible so they will come out to attack, because when they come out to attack, that's when they can be collected. If they're inside the nest, they're difficult to collect. So the more we can stir them up and get them out and flying, the more we can get them into our collection containers, as you see here. This nest was about midway through its season, so the population was starting to get quite large. As you see in these images, the bottles fill up quickly, so we have to get them to the vehicle to freeze them as soon as possible. We can then cap these containers up, and we can bring them out to freeze them. We typically have dry ice right in the vehicle. As you see here, we just put them right into the dry ice cooler, and we bury them in frozen CO2, dry ice. This is an immediate flash freeze. It's a humane, instantaneous freeze that knocks them out with the CO2 gas while it simultaneously freezes them at the highest quality possible for venom immunotherapy to preserve their venom for biomedical use. It was then time to flip that log over and find the nest. And as you see here, it went for a good couple of feet all the way down through various chambers in this wood that they had turned into their brood comb chambers. So we had to carefully break away some of the old rotted wood until we could expose some of the brood comb. This brood comb was very active. There was a lot of larvae, a lot of pupae, there were still eggs, but they were wedged into some very awkward spaces that we knew were going to have to be cut out. So ultimately, the client fortunately had a small electric chainsaw, and that was actually the perfect tool for this, because we had to do some small surgical cuts as we went along, a few inches at a time, to try to find where the brood comb was. And as you see here, once we discovered the brood comb, it was in some pretty awkward, tight spaces, and they came out looking like slices of pizza at times. Other times they were sort of round. It was an odd mix of comb based on whatever space they could build in. They just filled it up. So we cut along far enough until we got all the comb out. Then it was time to hunt down the queen. That's what you see happening here. We went through inch by inch until we finally found a little chamber that the queen was hiding in. That's in the red circle you see. And we got her to come out where we could capture her. And like all Yellowjacket queens, she was a runner. She gave us a run for the money, and finally we got her, but it took some work to get her chased down. But here she is. We got her and put her into the container with her nest brood comb. And from that point, we could get her relocated with her nest. And we brought her back to our barn lab where we have an incubation box, which was an old freezer at one point that has now been repurposed into a multi-shelf incubation box. And it's a free-range system where we put nests into each shelf in the box. And there's a hole in the side of the freezer that we cut into the freezer. This allows them to go free range and keep supporting their nest. So we put each nest into a paper bag just to simulate the paper that had been around the nest. And then as the nests incubate out more adults, we simply collect them through the hole in the side of the incubation box. So for now, let's take you back to August 3rd and August 4th of 2025, and we're going to show you the entire job. As always, thanks for riding along with us. We appreciate your support. If you enjoy the show, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment to let us know you're there. August 3rd, 2025, and we had a call from a gentleman who got attacked by these Yellowjackets that are in an old railroad tie he was trying to cut up and get rid of. And they have two entrances. There may be one nest that's very large, or there may be two nests. One here and one at the ground. So we're going to take a specimen identification today by capturing a live wasp and getting some close-up imagery on it so that we can ID the species that we're dealing with. Probably Southern Yellowjacket or Eastern Yellowjacket from the look of it. There's a couple here so that we can get close-up imagery on them. And the mark on the back of this wasp tells us these are Eastern Yellowjackets. One of the more aggressive species in the area for sure. So these can be very defensive of their nest. Right, so from both entry points we see Eastern Yellowjacket, Vespula maculifrons. We just took a sample from the 2 entry points. It's probably one large nest. All right, it's August 4th, 2025, and we are here to remove a very active Eastern Yellowjacket nest. You see they have 2 entrances here. One fairly low on the ground and one in the middle of the log over there a little further down. So we have a dual vac rig set up today that will handle both entrances and exits simultaneously. So we're putting a white rag over the collection bottle so they don't overheat in the sun. We'll cover this one with the top of the bin over here. You see them all lined up. They're smart. They don't want to come out. So we stir them up so that they'll come out and they'll try to fly back, and that's when they get collected. And you see they end up all over you. So you have to be careful with this species. You see here, they get disemboweled when they disengage from the glove. They rip their venom sac right out. Here's another one just ripped right out. So as soon as the cloud of yellow jackets comes out, they try to go back, they get collected. Now that the swarm has been collected, we stir it up again and do the same process. We'll continue with this process until they're all collected. So now most of the wasps that have been willing to come out and fight have been collected. Very little reaction to agitating the nest. That means most of the fighters, most of the foragers who can come out and sting and protect the nest and guard it have been collected. There will be a lot more out in the environment that we are not collecting because they're currently out foraging for food and whatnot, but they'll come back a little at a time and we'll collect them over time. In the meantime, we'll flip the logs, these old railroad ties, and we'll try to see what's underneath and dig out the nest brood comb. There may be two nests, one in here and one down here, or there may be one large nest with tunnels going into the wood or down underneath the wood. We'll find out when we explore a little bit. Try to turn the log and get a look at what's underneath. There it is. The nest looks like it's actually built into the wood, or at least one of them. There may be another one down below. So we found the nest actually built right into the log. And it looks like this is probably just another door that goes down into the nest. So we're going to dismantle the nest a little bit, or at least dismantle some of the log to see if we can find the tunnel leading to the nest. So as you can see, just one long tunnel moves into the nest. You can see the comb down in here. See larvae and white silk-cap pupae. Looks like the rest of the wood is pretty solid, so we'll have to do some cutting here. Dig underground a little bit just to see if there's any evidence of a ground nest expansion. There's no evidence of them expanding down into the ground. It appears everything is up inside the log. So between the two, there's quite a number of them now contained. So we're going to go ahead and freeze what we have here, and then we'll do the nest removal after we cut up the wood. Here's the second bottle. All right, there's phase one completed. Let's go get these frozen, and then we'll come back and cut up this log and get that nest out of there. So here's the collection from both bottles. Now we're gonna put them in dry ice and freeze them. So we're cutting out parts of the wood and then backing off and collecting some more. And then we cut a little bit further into the wood, let them swarm and get collected, and then come back. Just the process. going to start collecting parts of the nest. Looking for the queen while we do this as well. Hopefully we'll find her soon. Does not look like the queen is in here. So we're going to cut some more into this area. Let's see if we can find the queen. So now we're on a queen hunt.
So we're going to cut some more from here. See if we can locate the queen somewhere in these crevices. No sign of the queen yet. Still looking. So the queen is probably in here. There she is right there. That's the queen. We can see her right here. She's trying to escape now. So the queen is right here. I'm going to try to catch her without damaging her. But right there, she's trapped. She's right here. That's the queen right there. Here she comes. Got her. So here's the queen. We're going to contain her now. There she is. We're going to let her stay in there. So we've got the nest back to the lab. We're going to put it into an incubation box, which is an old chest freezer we use for this sort of thing. And what we're going to do is put it into a bag and then onto one of the shelves in here. And there's a hole cut in the side that allows them to go free range and support their nest. So let's get that handled now. So we just stack the nest up. And put the layers back together the way they were when we found them. And there's the queen hanging out here. So then we just take all of this debris with the queen and we sort of dump it all right in there. And they'll restack that nest. And any of the brood that can survive will be cared for. We have the nest now in the bag, and now we'll put it in here. This will be the second maculifrons nest that we have so far this season. First one's up here on top.